So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Tory MP Tobias Ellwood calling out Brexit and the major parties, whereas Labour kind of still face planting on this stuff. And obviously, I don't agree with everything Tobias Ellwood said. You know, he's a guy who says, "Why don't we rejoin the single market, etc." But I respect him in the sense of he's going against his party and he's trying to move the conversation away from where we are now, which is, "Oh, Brexit's okay. It's not the problem. It's global factors and all this kind of other nonsense." So I'm glad we have at least one kind of MP that's pushing, you know, a better narrative. I guess the bar is not very high, people. Let me put it this way. So let me cut to the clip.
All politicians need to read the room. This is the generation that's coming forward to saying we're not accepting this model of Brexit. And no political party is really willing to embrace this. You're dismissing the single market. I remember when we had this debate on Brexit, it was Dan Hannan, it was Nigel Farage, it was David Frost and Boris Johnson all said staying in the single market was part of the deal.
It was Owen Paterson as well saying only a madman would leave the single market. I guess the Tory party must be run by madmen. That's the only conclusion you can come to. But, you know, the whole argument we can kind of rejoin the single market, or if he does allude to that, that's problematic for reasons that I've given many times and in debates beforehand. But I'm glad we need the conversation to move on at least. But, you know, that single market access could have been there had we not Brexited the way we did. You know, whilst we're EU members, the EU is far more willing to make accommodation for members rather than third countries. But that's a hypothetical. But, you know, Michel Barnier was one of the ones who said, you know, Brexit didn't always mean the thing that we kind of made it out to be in the end. That was one of the problems kind of Britain made, or at least the Tory party made.
That was what they said during the referendum itself, that departing the European Union meant that we could stay in. We ended up with this silly debate which got polarised, and no one is recognising the fact that this is costing our nation 4% of our GDP every year.
It's about 100 billion a year. That's the cost. That's just the cost of the economy. You know, there's other costs as well that we're facing, societal costs as well as other things.
And if you want more money to pay for nurses, you want more money for all these other things we want to do, we need to be braver about recognising where the nation wants us as politicians to actually go.
Is there any chance that your Prime Minister, in your terms, is going to be braver? Because, I mean, you know, frankly, he's more implacably opposed to the single market than arguably Keir Starmer is.
I think it's simply because of the backdrop as who's supporting. You know the nature of how it comes about in the political parties and the bases themselves. I'm saying now look ahead, look at the next generation, look at what's best for Britain. Put the nation first rather than a partisan approach as what we had in the past.
You know, I kind of respect, you know, his argument here, Tobias Ellwood, because, you know, he's going against the Tory base here. And let's be honest, that people aged between 18 and 24, they're not going to predominantly vote Tory, but he's saying do what's in the nation's interest. And I respect him for that. You know, his look, a bit of an interesting one, wearing chinos with a suit. Always a bold strategy. I can't get a good angle on it. Sad times. There it is, somewhere here. Always a bold strategy going for that look. Looks like a guy going to a private school. But yeah, you know, the single market stuff, I know people are going to get annoyed in the comments. So let's leave that aside because we know the truth on that one. But at least he's trying to move on the conversation. He's trying to show that younger people don't want this. The problem is younger people have to come out and vote. If you're of voting age, you know, even if you swore your ballot, even if you vote for you know, a third party, like say you vote Lib Dem, who are very much more pro EU than Labour, I'd rather you did that than not voting at all. You know, make yourself an important voting bloc. That's what people have to do here. That's how you get politicians to listen to you. But, you know, we go to Labour kind of face planting on this.
But again, you say you're listening to young people. 86% of 18 to 25-year-olds want to rejoin the EU. And, you know, Keir Starmer's approach is never.
We've said that we will not rejoin the single market or the customs union.
Or the EU.
And we've set that out. But we also do share the priority of improving our relationship with the European Union. And the Conservatives' botched Brexit deal has got to be fixed. But we've also got to have a recognition about the shared priorities around the world with the European Union, whether that is on security, whether that is on...
We lost access to the EU databases on things like security.
On tackling climate change, whether that is about tackling poverty in the global south. So we will look to build that far more positive relationship with the EU, our closest neighbour, which I know is a priority. That's
But you are...
Those are things that you do at the UN, though. You know, climate change, poverty in the global south. Those are things typically you can do at the UN. You don't need the EU to discuss those issues. Not really. So what he's arguing makes no sense at all.
You are basically saying that 86% of young people are wrong.
Not at all.
Well, they want to rejoin the EU, and you're saying your party can't give them that.
You can look at the original 2016...
I mean, in fairness, the Labour Party can't do that because it's not up to us to rejoin. It's not up to us to make that decision, really. We can put in an application. That's the best we can do.
Result, and there were differences of opinion given the different age groups. But what we are saying is that we believe now that we have to try and make this new situation work in everybody's interest, and to reopen that whole question would just create a huge amount of instability that wouldn't be in our national interest.
It's nonsense what he's saying, that, you know, the idea that it would create all this instability and all this other nonsense, you know. It's going to annoy Brexiteers and some older people. That's it. The problem is Labour are actively trying to get the votes of older people and Brexiteers, and the issue for me is that I can see a lot of these people voting a Reform Party or just not voting at all. Let's be honest now, the main reason that they're not listening to younger people is because younger people aren't a significant voting bloc. You know, let's live in reality for once on this kind of stuff. And I just don't buy it at all. You know, he's telling younger people effectively they're wrong, and as Tobias Ellwood kind of pointed out here, it's costing us 4% of our GDP a year, 100 billion. Yeah, imagine we had that money in the economy. Imagine, I think it's about 30 odd billion that's costing the Exchequer. You know, Labour are just completely lost here. Tobias Ellwood gets away with this stuff because at the end of the day, all he's got to do is win his seat. He's not a minister, and I don't know if he's going to stay in politics after his term ends. But, you know, I want to see a lot more kind of backbench Labour MPs talking about this stuff. This conversation needs to get moved on to the next stage now of what can we really do to fix our relationship with the EU as a third country, and where can we go from there, because obviously we joined the single market, it's not on the table, we discussed it, but I think there are other things we can do, and eventually we need to look at how do we, you know, get that application to the EU, look at things like the Copenhagen criteria, look at voter reform, etc., and really look to change this country and make it better, make it more representative of the people in it, rather than just constantly hiding behind, oh yeah, I need red wall votes, so I'm going to do what I think the red wall want, even though I don't think that's even what most red wall voters want anyways. Mortgage man, Swindon woman, Wokington man, all of this kind of nonsense. It's just it's boring Labour triangulation, I think, and honestly, a hung parliament, a Labour Lib Dem coalition will be the best result for this country, and getting voter reform, that's what I'd want to see. Seeing a Labour majority, they're just gonna do a lot of dumb stuff, I think, and I think they're gonna learn all the wrong lessons from the election. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, support the channel on Patreon if you can, and credit to Tobias Ellwood. It's probably one of the only things I'll give him credit for, and I'll catch you in the next one.